It was the summer of 1997, and the heat hung in the air like a thick, invisible curtain. In the quiet town of Grayson Hollow, nothing much ever changed. The days were slow, the streets were narrow, and everyone knew each other's business. But for 13-year-olds Clara Whitmore and James Jamie Reed, that summer was going to be the one they'd never forget. They met, as they often did, on the worn wooden bridge that arched over Mill Creek on Maple Street. It wasn't much, a few planks nailed together, paint-chipped and faded, but it was theirs. Every day after lunch, they'd ride their bikes down the gravel path and meet at the middle of the bridge, where they'd sit, dangle their legs over the edge, and talk about everything and nothing. Jamie was tall and lanky, his hair always a bit too long and falling in his eyes. He was the kind of kid who fixed broken radios for fun and could name every constellation in the sky. Clara was quieter, sharp-eyed and steady-handed. She carried a sketchbook everywhere, filling it with images of the world around her, birds in flight, the bend of the creek, Jamie's lopsided grin. They were an odd pair, people said. He talked too much, she barely spoke. But their friendship worked, like puzzle pieces worn down just enough to fit together. One afternoon, Jamie brought something different to the bridge. It was a homemade telescope, patched together from spare parts he'd scrounged from his dad's garage. "Tonight," he said with a grin, "we're gonna see Jupiter." Clara raised an eyebrow. "You sure it won't explode?" He laughed. "Only a little." That night, under the vast dark sky, they saw Jupiter, a blurry dot, yes, but real. They took turns looking, passing the telescope back and forth, and when Clara gasped at the sight of the tiny Galilean moons, Jamie smiled like he'd built the stars himself. That was also the summer Jamie's mom got sick. At first, it was just tiredness, headaches she couldn't shake. Then hospital visits, whispered conversations, and days Jamie didn't come to the bridge. Clara noticed the change before anyone else. He stopped making jokes. His clothes were wrinkled. His eyes lost the wild glint of wonder. When he did show up, he didn't talk much. Clara didn't press him. She just sat beside him, sketching quietly, sometimes passing him a drawing of something ridiculous, a cat flying a plane, a robot watering flowers. He'd chuckle, just a little. It was enough. Then came the day Jamie showed up and said, "I think she's going to die." Clara didn't say anything right away. What could she say? Instead, she tore a page from her sketchbook, a drawing of him and his mom watching fireworks, a memory he'd once described in vivid detail, and handed it to him. "She's still here," Clara said softly. "With you." "In this?" Jamie looked at the picture for a long time. Then, for the first time in weeks, he cried. Clara didn't say a word. She just stayed beside him, holding the silence like a shared blanket. The weeks passed. Jamie's mom passed away in late August, just as school was about to start. The funeral was small. Clara was the only one from school who came. When Jamie returned, things had changed. He didn't talk about the stars anymore. He didn't fix radios. He barely smiled. One afternoon, he didn't show up at the bridge. Clara waited. An hour passed. Then two. The next day, she went to his house. His father answered the door, face drawn and pale. Jamie was in his room, under the blankets. "He's been like that all week," his dad said. "I don't know what to do." Clara nodded and walked in anyway. Jamie was curled up, facing the wall. Clara sat on the floor, pulled out her sketchbook, and began to draw. She drew the bridge. The telescope. A galaxy spilling out of a jar. She didn't speak. When she was done, she left the sketchbook on his desk. The next day, he was at the bridge. He didn't say much. Just handed her back the sketchbook, turned to a blank page, and said, "Teach me to draw?" They met every afternoon again, just like before. Slowly, the spark came back. Jamie's drawings were terrible at first, but he laughed at himself. Clara did too. Their laughter filled the summer air like birdsong. In time, they added new traditions. They built a birdhouse, left messages in a bottle beneath the bridge for future explorers, and started naming the clouds. Clara taught Jamie to shade shadows in his sketches. Jamie taught Clara to recognize constellations by heart. Years passed. High school came and went. Jamie got into engineering school. Clara studied art in the city. But every summer, without fail, they returned to the bridge on Maple Street. One year, Jamie brought a ring. "I'm not saying now," he said nervously, holding out a tiny, handcrafted ring box. I wanted you to know that whatever happens, you're still the best part of my life." Clara smiled, tears in her eyes. "We're still puzzle pieces, huh? Worn in all the right ways," he said. They didn't marry right away. Life took them different places. But the bridge remained. One day, decades later, two children ran ahead of their parents to the same wooden bridge, now aged and worn, though maintained with love. A little plaque hung on the side. "In memory of Jamie and Clara Reed, lifelong friends, explorers of stars, keepers of bridges."